First off, we have to go find Ben. He's here somewhere. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are at LDI 2015 doing a special recording of Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe, and we are in Ben Stowe's booth right now. That's right, the NLFX Pro booth is here at LDI in Las Vegas. We are going to be talking tonight about wires. Yeah, we've talked about wires in the past, but we're going to do it here in LDI, and we're also going to have a special guest. First off, we have to go find Ben. He's here somewhere. We'll just have to wait a couple of seconds here, and I'm sure he'll be coming. But we're going to be joined tonight by Jeremy Brech. Now, Jeremy Brech, a lot of you know as DJ Jer. He does have an identity complex. If you saw the video where he was interviewing himself, it went pretty well, but the part that you guys didn't see was the argument that ensued afterwards, you know, and it was ugly. But Jeremy Brech is going to be joining us, and I think I see Ben Stowe coming right now. This is going to be awesome because we are at LDI, which is, you know, one of the biggest lighting shows in the entertainment industries here in Las Vegas, and Ben and Kat have been here. They've been slaving, they've been sweating, they've been doing their thing, and really one of the big things they've been talking about with a lot of people is cables. Ben, you made it.
Hard to get into my own booth.
It is, man. It's been a busy show, and you guys have been doing a lot of things, talking to a lot of people, and a lot of it's been kind of around wires here at the show.
Well, it's obviously a focal point of our booth. You know, we're very, very proud of our Platinum Series cables. We've had some of these discussions in the past, but it just bears repeating. It's simple, it's engineering. And, you know, we make a premium grade cable, and I think, you know, with your channel in particular, you know, we're obviously addressing a lot of the DJ market, but what's notable is that here we're marketing those cables towards the tour market. You know, the real, I think, you know, they're very hard on wires. You know, having a lifetime guarantee is basically a suicide mission, but we do it anyway. And the best part about that for your viewers is that these same cables are very much in the price class that a DJ can comfortably afford. So you can have tour grade cables in your trunk at a price that's comfortable for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that a lot of people have been coming through and have been very, very interested in that, because that lifetime warranty means that they're getting quality gear that's going to last. And that's a big, big thing. And now if we're starting to sound like a commercial, that's not our point tonight. Really what we're trying to do is we're talking to the guy who paid for the booth. No, the rest of us aren't talking about that. We want to talk about really the idea of using the proper wire, i.e. DMX, when it comes to running lights. And of course, in order to really, really talk about that, not only can we, you know, you and I talk about it, but we're going to have Jeremy Brech.
Thank goodness.
We're going to have Jeremy Brech come in here and talk to us about, or with us.
Did you see the special on these cables?
This isn't a commercial, sir. We're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, Ixnay on the.
We're not doing the commercial part of it, but we want to talk, guys, a little bit about, for those out there, you know, everyone's like, oh, it doesn't matter if I'm using XLR mic cables or DMX cables, and that's something that I think I've had conversations with both of you at different times about. So we're gonna make this a short show, but just kind of give us a couple of reasons why that using the right cables for the right job is important. And we're going to start with you, Jeremy, because, well, you were the last one here.
Well, and you obviously want to get the right information at the end of all this conversation. So we'll do Ben next.
That's why Ben's going to refute pretty much everything you say.
Yeah.
We're going to nod and smile because, you know.
It's basically going to come back and say what he said is not correct.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the real story. But
I doubt it.
No, you know, when it comes to using the right cables, it's all about frequencies and making sure that they match up. And I know that we've run into issues in the past where we plug one light in, we get another cable, plug another light in, and next thing you know, this cable or this light's acting up, or vice versa, the next light's acting up. So when you have that consistency, obviously DMX cables, keeping those consistent, that's going to be important when you're doing all your lighting, and a good clean cable when you're doing all your sound is important as well.
And then with most of your shows, because you do a lot of things, you're doing a lot of lighting around the room. So really, you have your set of XLR mic cables, and you have your DMX XLRs that you use with your shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not just to plug the NLFX cables, but we bought, oh man, I don't even know how many thousands of dollars in cables this year, because we wanted to make sure we had the right cables. Yeah, obviously, right? We wanted to make sure we had enough. We wanted to make sure that we had, again, that consistent cable where we threw a bunch of our old stuff out just because you'd plug it in, you hear that hum, you had to move the cable a little bit to eliminate that. And obviously, you know, when you're doing the size of events that we are, and the amount of level of performance that our clients are expecting, we got to make sure we have the right stuff.
And if we could grab Kat, we'll grab her in just a second, because that was a great bridge for that little yellow box right there.
Well, yeah, no doubt. And actually, the cable that's sitting underneath the yellow box is, you know, what we said, you know, we're not afraid to get naked here, but we're talking about our cable specifically. We actually have some of the raw cable that we use, and we've cut the jacket away. Again, the people that are here at this show, they're a very discerning and informed consumer, and so we really wanted to show them, you know, what's inside, because that's meaningful to them, and it should be meaningful to you. And I think, you know, John and Jeremy and many others have done a good job of helping to share that information with you, because we want you to make informed decisions, whether it's our cable or somebody else's. You know, we want you to make a decision that's informed. Now, to the technical side of things, Jeremy did a great job of you know, kicking us off here. Simply put, it would be cheaper for me if I didn't have to make two different kinds of cable. So if one would work, I would just make one. But the fact is, they're different, and they're different for a reason. Which you use, I really don't care. But we make both for the people who do care. And I'll tell you what, when you look around at some of these booths, I'd make a wager, and I'm not a gambling guy. I'm here in Las Vegas, but I'll wager this: you're not going to find a mic cable plugged in at Roby or Claypaky or Martin or any of these companies. It's just not going to happen.
It all comes down to the quality of the cable as well. I mean, again, we threw out a bunch of our cables, and we had to start over. You know, we bought, I would say, 5 100-foot cables. We bought, I mean, just a good variety of lengths and everything. And I made sure that they all have that NLFX jacket on them with the length, because it allows us, well, it allows me to tell my guys, grab a 15-foot. Well, we don't have to lay it out to figure out if it's 15-foot or not. So that's a huge benefit. And again, just the quality in that cable, the way it's wound. I remember in Lighting Symposium, you were talking about how the different cables, you know, if it's a red, white, and green wire or whatever. I mean, there's so many different things out there when it comes to cables, and if they're not the right cable, you can really mess up your lights.
Well, I think the underlying point there is it matters. And John, if you step just to the side, we can see we actually produced a video showing how these cables are made, you know, basically kind of putting it together from the get-go, because again, it's meaningful to people who know. So we said, here's how our cable is made, you know. Anyway, that said, some of the differences, and we've highlighted the electrical specs on some of our marketing material here, is when we're dealing with a DMX signal, we're dealing with a high-frequency digital signal, about 250,000 bits a second, give or take, as opposed to an audio signal. And what we want to do there is have a higher impedance, a characteristic impedance of about 120, maybe 110 ohms, as opposed to 70 for analog audio. But we want a lower capacitance. We want to not smudge or blur those digital bits. And conversely, when it comes to the audio cable, it's ideal to have a lower characteristic impedance, and then, you know, we can get away with a higher capacitance. We use different construction too. Mic cables are you know, laid on the ground and dragged around with microphones attached to them and those sorts of things. We use a thicker jacket. We use heavier conductors, 20 gauge, whereas DMX cables have 24 gauge conductors in our cable. Different twist characteristics for common mode rejection, all kinds of awesome nerdy things. You know, and maybe you don't really care about those things. You just want to say, you know, I just want the right cable. Well, then get a DMX cable for DMX, get a mic cable for mic cable. But
all that lingo, that's exactly why I just say, Ben, what cable do I need? And he makes sure it gets the right ones.
Make it quick and easy.
We didn't even get into you know, inductance and capacitance, which
exactly.
are two, also, yeah, okay, all right.
And we've talked about this in some of our past Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe shows, so we'll put the link, I'll go dig that up, and we'll put that link in the description below so you guys can go and check that out, because we went into it pretty in-depth.
Because I know you want to hear it again.
Yeah, exactly. Really, you want the whole 45-minute spiel that we did that night. What's really kind of cool about the spiel is we had little claymation animations going on. We had some drawings. We had birds flying.
What's our cable sample at?
Our cable
you
sample.
got it right there. Hey, look at it.
There you go.
Yep. So we grabbed our props here because they were over on the table over there. So now we have them. Now this isn't exactly what we were talking about. That's what we're talking about. But we're led into this so well. So Ben, let's start with there.
Well, you know, like I said, here again, we took a piece of the cable and we stripped it out to show the construction inside. All cables more or less look the same if you look at the outside. Well, it's rubbery and it's, you know, and it's black and, you know, it's got some writing on it. You know, that's
kind of, yep.
Yeah, you know.
That's how I pick my cables.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, look at that writing.
Well, it is nice. I mean, like, you know, we were very specific about the font we used, you know. But really what matters is on the inside, and that's what we wanted to show, because again, the people that are coming by here, and I'm not a name dropping kind of guy, but they're big names, some of the biggest entertainment companies and venues in the country, they're not going to fall for a line of, you know, bull.
Yeah.
They want to know what's in the cable.
Place on Earth. We'll just throw that out.
Oh no!
Wait a second. I thought that was the NLFX headquarters.
Well, there goes that contract. So you know, thanks for that. Anyway, point is that you know they care, and we wanted to honor their request for that information by saying, yeah, we'll cut one right open, no problem.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned, Jeremy mentioned, of course, that he had this big box of cables and he threw those out. That just leads us over to this little tool, Ben. We've talked about this one before.
Well, you know, that's a good, I'm going to just throw this in there too. When you start talking about throwing cables out, our cables have a lifetime guarantee, which again, is sort of a suicide mission, but the fact is that makes them the cheapest cable you'll ever buy. If you're in business for more than a couple of years, this cable now costs less than a cheap cable.
You know, the nice thing is it shows that you stand behind your product, and if you go online and you find something on eBay or on Amazon, they're probably not going to stand behind their product. They're just going to sell you a cheap cable, and hopefully you'll buy more from them later.
But Ben, give us a little overview of what this guy can do.
Well, this basically it's a glorified continuity tester, but it does it in a way that allows us to plug a cable in without having to use probes and things that we would in a continuity tester, and then it tells us what our results are. We can test from any cable to any cable. We could test from an RJ45 to an NL8 if you had such a cable for whatever reason. But we've got USB A to B, we've got NL8s, we've got 1/4 inch RCA, MIDI, 5-pin and 3-pin XLR for testing DMX and mic cables. We've got NL4. Simply tells you what's connected to what. And I'll tell you what, this has been overwhelmingly popular here, particularly in the convention center, ironically, because you have people coming in from all over the country all the time trying to do things. The techs at the convention center here said, oh my gosh, this will be so great to figure out what kind of weird cable somebody's got and what they're really trying to accomplish. More importantly for you and for your kit, is the cable the problem? This will tell you very quickly if it's working, if the pins are wired the way you expect them to be, if there's a broken connection, and then you know, you can move on with your troubleshooting.
So Ben, I got a question, because I have one of these, and my question has always been, if I have an XLR, and I think you kind of mentioned it here, if I have an XLR female going into a 1/4 inch, I can test that cable as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And for those of you watching, this is one of the components that was in the show that we did about Ben's toolbox. You guys need to check that out. We'll put that link in the description below, but this is one of the many awesome tools and awesome pieces that he has in his toolbox that he takes to shows just like this.
Bottom line, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, you know, if you're, I mean, the tours have been eating this up, because if there's one thing that you know I've said repeatedly about what happens on tour, failure is always an option. You know,
unfortunately, you don't want
breaks.
that option.
No, and this will solve a lot of trouble quick and fast. So.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. That's what we want to kind of touch on today a little bit, is get the right cable for the right application. I think is really to sum it up.
Yeah.
And sometimes that might mean spending a little bit more money to make sure you're doing it and doing it right. But I've had that situation where that third light all of a sudden it worked, but now it doesn't because of a bad wire. Before I tested it, see, I can test now.
Well, you spend a little bit more up front, but you know you save that repeatedly, both in the longevity of the product, but also in the results. The time you save not having to constantly troubleshoot problems. Time is money. You know, again, this did kind of turn into an advertisement, but I think it's also pretty right on. It's pretty educational. You know, do what's best for your business, but these are what 3 guys who've made their living for the last collectively probably 60 years in the industry. I think we all agree on the point.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, as you're seeing people go around here today, and as I'm looking at wiring these lights, not more than just us get that concept. So
I think one of the most frustrating things is when you plug in a cable, you might not plug that or plug that cable in, and then you automatically see your problem.
Right.
You plug that cable in, and then 3 cables down the road, you start having problems over here. And I think that's probably the most frustrating thing. So yeah, having something like that can take elimination out of the question.
Yep.
Take that completely out of the question for you.
Yeah, for sure, guys, for sure. Well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you guys for watching. If this is your first time watching, thank you for watching first off. You can subscribe to our channel by hitting that subscription thing down below. There's a link right down there. If you like the show, You can hit the thumbs up down there. If you just want to ask us a question about why Jeremy's the only one who knows how to put a sports coat on, you can put that in the comment section down below. Yeah, he's going to now take that up because now we just
join the cool kids.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll send a shout out to Jason Yoshino, who's hanging out in our live studio audience out there.
Right here at the show. Yeah, that's right. Jason's out there hanging out with the crew. But we're at LDI 2015. Once again, thank you for watching. Comments down in the comments below. We appreciate it. This is Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News, Disc Jockey News TV. Jeremy Brech from DJ Jer Entertainment out of Sioux Falls, and Ben Stowe from NLFX Pro out of Bemidji, Minnesota. Thanks for watching. Good night. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will.